The night air was thick with tension as Emma sat alone on the cold park bench, the city lights flickering behind her like distant stars, indifferent to her pain. She had just overheard the devastating truth. Her boyfriend, Mark, had left her not for a stranger, but for her best friend, Claire. The betrayal felt like a jagged knife twisting deep inside her chest. Emma's mind raced, torn between disbelief and the burning sting of heartbreak. How could they? She whispered into the night, voice trembling. The street lamps cast long shadows that seemed to echo her loneliness. Every step she took away from that bench felt heavier, her world tilting off its axis. Yet beneath the hurt, a spark of resolve flickered. She wouldn't be the victim in this story. The cold wind tugged at her coat as she stood, eyes steeling, ready to face the chaos ahead. This was only the beginning. Emma's mind replayed every moment leading up to this betrayal like a broken record. Mark had seemed perfect, charming, attentive, and devoted. Claire was her closest friend since college, the one who'd held her secrets and dreams. Yet behind the laughter and shared coffees, a secret had festered and grown. Emma remembered the day Claire started acting distant, the subtle changes in their friendship that she had ignored. It was like watching a slow-motion train wreck, inevitable and heartbreaking. Now, standing at the edge of her shattered world, Emma realized she needed to confront both Mark and Claire. This wasn't just about heartbreak, it was about reclaiming her dignity and finding out why. The night was still young, but Emma's resolve was burning fiercely. She whispered to herself, "I will not let this break me." Emma's first call was to Mark's phone. She rehearsed what to say 1,000 times, but found only silence when he picked up. His voice was cold, unfamiliar, no apologies, no regret. "It's over," he said simply. "I'm with Claire now." Each word crashed over her like a wave. She hung up, anger and despair swirling inside her. Next, she tried Claire, who avoided her calls and texts, only replying hours later with vague excuses. Emma's heart sank deeper. The betrayal wasn't just romantic, it was personal, a fracture in everything she believed about friendship and trust. But beneath the rubble of hurt, a quiet voice urged her on, to face the truth no matter how painful. The following morning, Emma stood in front of a mirror, staring at her reflection as if seeing a stranger. The woman looking back was bruised but not broken. Her eyes, rimmed with tiredness, burned with new determination. "This isn't how my story ends," she told herself firmly. She wiped away a stray tear and grabbed her phone, drafting a message to a close friend for support. The day ahead was daunting, confrontations, revelations, and perhaps closure. But Emma was ready. She dressed carefully, choosing strength over sorrow, and stepped out into the crisp morning air. The sunlight was harsh but honest, much like the truth she was about to face. Emma arrived at the coffee shop, where she and Claire had shared countless memories. The place was buzzing with morning rush, but all Emma could feel was the weight of what was to come. She spotted Claire at a corner table, laughing with Mark. For a fleeting moment, Emma's breath caught in her throat. Then the surge of resolve returned. She walked over, her steps steady despite the storm inside. Claire looked up, surprise flickering across her face before it hardened. Emma sat down, voice steady, but edged with pain. "We need to talk. This ends today." The air between them crackled with unspoken tension as the past and present collided in one charged moment. The tension in the coffee shop was thick, almost suffocating. Emma's voice was calm but firm as she faced Claire and Mark, her eyes steady and unyielding. Claire's smile faltered, replaced by defensive coldness, while Mark avoided Emma's gaze. "Why?" Emma asked quietly, voice trembling with hurt. Mark finally looked up, his expression conflicted but resigned. "It just happened," he said, shrugging. "I didn't plan to hurt you." Emma swallowed hard, the raw pain cutting through her resolve. Claire's eyes glistened with unshed tears, but she said nothing. Emma realized this was not just a breakup, it was a fracture in trust and friendship that might never heal. Yet beneath her sorrow, determination burned brighter. This confrontation was the first step toward reclaiming her life. Emma left the coffee shop feeling hollow but strangely empowered. Her phone buzzed with messages from friends offering support, but she craved solitude to process the storm raging inside her. She walked the quiet streets under an overcast sky, raindrops beginning to fall gently. Memories of happier times with Mark and Claire flickered in her mind, like fragile photographs. Was it all a lie? She wondered, voice barely a whisper. Yet she refused to drown in bitterness. Instead, Emma vowed to find strength within herself, to rebuild from the ashes. The rain mingled with tears as she paused beneath a street lamp, breathing deeply. The journey ahead was uncertain, but she would walk it on her own terms. Later that evening, Emma sat curled up on her couch, wrapped in a soft blanket, her phone silent beside her. The room was dimly lit by a single lamp, casting long shadows that danced across the walls. Her thoughts wandered to the what-ifs and might-have-beens, the endless loops of regret and pain. But then her phone lit up, an unexpected message from an old friend offering a listening ear, and a plan to meet. Emma smiled faintly, feeling a flicker of hope amid the darkness. She realized healing wouldn't come overnight, but with support and self-love, she could reclaim her happiness. The night deepened around her, but inside, a small ember of resilience glowed brighter. The next day, Emma decided to face her pain head-on by journaling her feelings. She sat at a small wooden desk by a bright window, sunlight pouring in and illuminating the scattered pages and open notebook. Each word she wrote was a release, a confession, a cry, a promise to herself. The act of writing grounded her, transforming chaos into clarity. She wrote about love, betrayal, loss, and above all, the hope for new beginnings. The gentle hum of the city outside contrasted with the quiet intensity inside the room. Emma closed her notebook feeling lighter, her heart a little less heavy. This was her first real step toward healing and self-discovery. That evening, Emma met her old friend at a quiet, intimate wine bar. The warm glow of candlelight and soft jazz created a comforting cocoon from the outside world. They talked for hours about the past, present, and dreams for the future. Emma found herself laughing again, the tension easing from her shoulders. It was the first time in weeks she felt truly seen and supported. Her friend's unwavering presence reminded her she was not alone, that there was life beyond heartbreak. As the night deepened, Emma felt a cautious optimism stirring within her, a belief that she could survive this storm and emerge stronger on the other side. Emma's days blurred into a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. She threw herself into work, desperate to drown out the ache inside. But every glance at her phone, every message, every call she avoided, reminded her of the fracture she couldn't mend. One afternoon, she found herself at the edge of the river, staring at the restless water below. The current mirrored the turmoil within her, a mix of anger, confusion, and sorrow. She whispered to herself, "Why did it have to be this way?" Her friends urged patience, but Emma's heart craved answers and closure. The deeper she dug, the more tangled the web seemed. Yet, in this rising conflict, a seed of strength was taking root, a fierce desire not to be defined by pain, but to emerge renewed. Mark reached out unexpectedly one evening, his message simple but loaded, "Can we talk?" Emma's heart pounded with hesitation and curiosity. The meeting place was a quiet, dimly lit bar, shadows flickering from candles and neon signs. Mark looked worn, regret etched on his face. "I never wanted to hurt you," he confessed, voice low. Emma listened, torn between anger and lingering feelings. She questioned everything. Was he truly remorseful, or just seeking forgiveness to ease his guilt? The conversation spiraled into confessions and confrontations, revealing cracks and secrets she hadn't anticipated. Emma left feeling unsettled but clearer. This was not closure, but another step in the tangled journey toward healing. Back home, Emma's phone lit up with an unexpected text from Claire. The message was brief but loaded. "Can we meet? I need to explain." Emma's pulse quickened, emotions swirling. Meeting Claire again stirred memories of friendship, laughter, and betrayal. At a quiet park bench under the early evening sky, Claire's words tumbled out, apologies, confessions, and the tangled reasons behind the choices that shattered them all. Emma struggled to reconcile the friend she once knew with the stranger who'd hurt her deeply. The conversation was raw and uncomfortable, but beneath the hurt, there was a flicker of understanding. Perhaps this fracture could someday heal, but only if truth prevailed. Days turned into restless nights, filled with doubt and introspection. Emma sat by her bedroom window, city lights twinkling below like distant stars. She replayed every moment, every word, searching for meaning in the chaos. Friends offered advice, some urging forgiveness, others caution. Emma knew she had to decide what mattered most, holding on to pain or finding freedom. The rising conflict was more than external. It was a battle within herself. Slowly, she began to understand that forgiveness wasn't about others but reclaiming peace for her own heart. As dawn approached, a fragile hope took root, promising new strength to face whatever came next. Emma's transformation was gradual, but undeniable. She started small, morning jogs, reconnecting with old hobbies, and setting boundaries with those who drained her. The rising conflict wasn't just about others' actions, but reclaiming her own identity. One crisp morning, as the sun broke through the clouds, Emma stood in front of a mirror and smiled. Not a forced smile, but one born of real resilience. She was no longer just the girl betrayed. She was a woman forging her own path. The scars remained, but they no longer defined her. The rising conflict had tested her, but Emma was ready to turn pain into power and walk forward with renewed courage. Emma's world shifted once more when an unexpected secret surfaced. A message from Claire's younger sister revealing that Claire and Mark had started their relationship, weeks before Emma even knew. The betrayal cut deeper than before. Emma reread the texts, disbelief turning to fury. This was no accident, no impulsive mistake. It was planned deceit. How could Claire lie for so long? How could Mark betray her, not only once but twice? The revelation shattered any remaining trust. Emma's heart pounded, tears threatening to spill, but this time she refused to crumble. The truth, raw and ugly, galvanized her resolve. She would no longer be silent or passive. It was time to expose the lies. Determined to confront the truth head-on, Emma arranged a tense meeting with Claire and Mark at a neutral cafe. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken accusations. Claire's face was pale, eyes darting nervously, while Mark avoided all eye contact. Emma laid out the evidence calmly but firmly, watching their reactions. Claire's defenses crumbled, tears spilling freely as she admitted the betrayal. Mark's silence spoke volumes. Emma's anger surged, but so did a strange sense of relief. The tangled web of lies was finally exposed. This confrontation was cathartic, painful, but necessary, a brutal clearing of the air. Emma realized the power of truth, even when it hurts. As the truth spilled out, Emma grappled with a whirlwind of emotions, betrayal, sadness, but also a strange clarity. She saw Claire not just as a friend, but as a flawed person who had made devastating choices. Mark's actions were unforgivable but transparent. Emma's heart ached, but her mind sharpened. She realized forgiveness wasn't a gift for them, but a gift for herself. To heal, she needed to let go of hatred and find peace. This revelation marked a turning point, where bitterness gave way to acceptance. Emma felt a surge of empowerment, knowing she controlled her own narrative now, not defined by their deceit, but by her strength and grace. In the days that followed, Emma withdrew from the chaos to reflect deeply. She spent hours journaling and meditating, seeking to rebuild her fractured spirit. The truth had freed her but also left wounds that needed care. She visited a quiet lakeside at dawn, the still water mirroring her determination and calm. The rising sun painted the sky with hopeful hues. Emma embraced the solitude, letting go of the past's heavy chains. She whispered to the wind, "I am more than this pain." The twist of betrayal was devastating, but it also sparked an inner revolution. Emma was ready to reclaim joy, redefine love, and trust again, starting with herself. The final revelation came unexpectedly. An old mutual friend confided that Claire had once warned her Emma's relationship with Mark was fragile. This knowledge stung sharply. The betrayal was deeper and more premeditated than Emma imagined. Yet instead of despair, this new twist fueled her clarity and resolve. Emma realized she was no longer tangled in their deceitful games, but standing tall above them. She understood the power of truth and self-respect. The twist had brought heartbreak, but also liberation. Emma's journey was far from over, but she now carried an unshakable strength. The story of betrayal had been rewritten, and Emma was the author of her own destiny. Emma's emotions reached a boiling point as she stood face to face with Mark one last time. The years of hurt, betrayal, and heartbreak culminated in this charged moment. She spoke with fierce clarity, voice steady yet laced with raw pain. "You left me for someone I trusted most. Do you understand what that does to a person?" Mark's eyes flickered with guilt, but no excuse came. Emma's words were not just accusations. They were a declaration of reclaiming power. She told him that this chapter was closing, not with bitterness but with finality. This was not about revenge, but about her dignity. As Mark looked away, Emma felt a weight lift, her heart lighter, ready to move beyond the shadows he cast. After the confrontation, Emma walked away with a mixture of relief and sorrow. She wandered to a nearby park where memories of happier days with Claire and Mark lingered like ghosts. The golden hour cast long shadows as she sat on a bench, the cool breeze brushing her face. She allowed herself to cry, not out of weakness but catharsis. Emma understood that healing meant facing pain head-on and letting it go. The park, once a place of joy, was now a symbol of her resilience. Though the path ahead was uncertain, Emma felt a newfound peace. She whispered to the fading sun, "This is my beginning." Emma's journey towards self-reclamation deepened as she reconnected with her passions. She enrolled in a photography course, finding joy in capturing moments of beauty and truth. Behind the lens, Emma discovered a new voice, one not defined by heartbreak, but by creativity and strength. Her camera became a tool of healing, a way to frame the world anew. Each click was a step forward, each image a testament to her resilience. In this rising tide of renewal, Emma began to see herself not as broken, but as evolving. The scars were reminders, not anchors. The act of creation helped her reclaim her story and rewrite her future. Unexpectedly, Emma crossed paths with Claire at a local gallery showcasing their mutual friend's art. The air was thick with unresolved tension, but also a silent acknowledgement of shared history. They exchanged guarded glances and tentative words. Emma felt the old wounds ache, but also a hint of forgiveness blossoming. They spoke honestly about pain and mistakes, the complexity of human hearts laid bare. Though their friendship could never be what it was, Emma realized that letting go included making peace with the past. The encounter was bittersweet, a quiet milestone in Emma's healing journey, proof that even broken bonds could evolve. The climax of Emma's emotional journey came during a small gathering of close friends and family. Surrounded by love and support, she stood to share her story, not with bitterness, but with courage and grace. Her voice, once trembling, was now strong and clear. She spoke of betrayal, pain, but also growth and forgiveness. Tears shimmered in the room as she closed with a message of hope, that no matter the depths of despair, the human spirit can rise. Emma's story was no longer one of victimhood but of victory. In this moment of shared vulnerability, she embraced her new identity, a woman empowered by truth and love. Emma woke early, the soft glow of dawn filtering through her bedroom window. The night's sleep had brought clarity and calm she hadn't known for months. She moved slowly, savoring the quiet before the day began, feeling a newfound sense of peace. The chaos of betrayal and heartbreak had finally settled into a place of acceptance. Today, Emma would focus on herself, her passions, and her growth. She dressed simply, pulling on a cozy sweater and jeans, her reflection in the mirror showing a woman transformed. The scars remained, but they were reminders of survival and strength, not defeat. Emma smiled softly, ready to embrace whatever came next with open arms. Emma spent the afternoon walking through a bustling city park, the vibrant energy around her contrasting with the stillness she'd cultivated inside. Children played, couples strolled, and the scent of blooming flowers filled the air. For the first time in a long while, Emma felt connected to the world around her, not as a victim, but as a participant. She paused at a small cafe kiosk to buy a coffee, exchanging warm smiles with the barista. The simple moments, she realized, held the greatest power, the power to heal, to create joy, and to reclaim life. Each breath was a step toward freedom, and Emma embraced the journey fully. As evening approached, Emma settled into a cozy nook in a small independent bookstore. Surrounded by shelves filled with stories, she lost herself in the pages of a novel that echoed her journey of resilience. The quiet murmur of other readers and the scent of aged paper created a sanctuary. Emma realized that stories, both told and lived, held the power to transform. She jotted down thoughts in her journal, reflecting on how far she'd come. The bookstore, a haven for the soul, symbolized her own rebirth, a place where broken narratives could be rewritten and hope rekindled. Later that night, Emma video called her closest friends, sharing laughter and stories. The digital glow illuminated her face, revealing joy and connection. She realized that her healing was intertwined with community and love. The past still lingered, but it no longer held power over her. Emma embraced imperfections, hers and others, finding beauty in vulnerability. The support of those who stood by her was a balm for her soul. She thanked them quietly, knowing she was no longer alone in this journey. Together they celebrated survival, growth, and the bright horizon ahead. In the quiet hours before sleep, Emma reflected on her journey, the betrayals, the heartbreak, the revelations, and the strength she'd found within. The night was calm, the city outside peaceful. She felt gratitude for the lessons learned and the courage gained. Emma knew the road ahead would still have challenges, but she was ready. Her story was no longer about loss, but about empowerment and new beginnings. As she closed her eyes, a sense of deep peace enveloped her. Tomorrow awaited, full of promise and possibility, and Emma would face it with an open heart and unshakable spirit. Emma stood on the balcony of her new apartment, the city lights sprawling endlessly before her. The night air was cool, carrying the faint hum of distant traffic and soft whispers of the wind. She reflected on the tumultuous journey, betrayal, heartbreak, revelations, and healing. The weight of the past had lifted, replaced by a quiet strength that glowed deep within her. Emma's gaze softened as she whispered to herself, "This is my life now." She was no longer defined by what was taken, but by what she had reclaimed. Her dignity, her dreams, her future. The city around her sparkled like a promise, and for the first time in years, she felt free. Emma's phone chimed with a message from a new acquaintance she'd met at a photography exhibit. The message was light-hearted, full of potential, and it made her smile, a small but significant sign of new beginnings. She realized that opening her heart again was both terrifying and exhilarating. The past had taught her to protect herself fiercely, but also to trust in her worth. Emma typed back with playful confidence, feeling a flutter of excitement she hadn't known in years. The road to love and happiness was uncertain, but she welcomed the adventure. Her story was evolving, not ending. Emma took a deep breath as she prepared to visit her favorite park. It was the place where so many chapters of her story had unfolded, the good, the bad, and the transformative. Walking along the familiar paths, she felt a serene connection to her past self and the woman she had become. The sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting playful shadows. Emma stopped at her favorite bench, sat down, and allowed herself a moment of gratitude. She thought about forgiveness, not just for others but for herself. This peaceful acceptance was a triumph, a quiet victory over pain. Emma smiled, ready to embrace whatever the future held. Later that afternoon, Emma met with her closest friends for a quiet dinner at a small, intimate restaurant. The laughter and shared stories filled the space with warmth and belonging. Emma felt deeply grateful for the support that had carried her through the darkest times. As she raised her glass in a toast, she spoke with heartfelt conviction. To new beginnings, to strength, and to love. The moment was bittersweet but joyful. A celebration of survival and transformation. Emma's journey was far from over, but she was no longer alone or afraid. She was surrounded by love, hope, and endless possibilities. As night fell, Emma stood alone on her balcony once more, gazing up at the stars scattered across the dark velvet sky. The silence was profound, filled with promise and possibility. Her heart was no longer weighed by betrayal or sorrow, but buoyed by hope and resilience. Emma's final whispered words were a vow to herself. I am enough. I am whole. I am free. The city below shimmered like a sea of lights guiding her forward. The story had reached its conclusion, not with an ending but a beginning. Emma stepped back inside, ready to write the next chapter of her life, strong, fearless, and alive.